A very good afternoon to all of you and a warm welcome to NetApp webinar series Apprenticeship Dialogue, where today we'll be discussing about the emerging trends in apprenticeship ecosystem. To discuss the same, today we have three eminent industry leaders with us who have been able to implement Apprenticeship Act in the organization successfully for many years. So recently, the second edition of Apprenticeship Outlook report was published by NetApp, the Employability to Apprenticeship Program, for the period of July to December 2021. The report clearly states that net apprenticeship outlook has increased by 4% for the period of July to December 2021, taking it to 46% as compared to 41% for the period of January to June 2021. The report also states some hard facts about the hiring trends of apprentices across small, medium, and large enterprises. The report also states that 64% of the employers have started hiring apprentices from July to October, and the same trends also reflecting for November and December. There's an increase of 6% in terms of hiring growth for the period of July to December 2021 as compared to January to June 2021. The report also stated 23% of the employers are very happy with the productivity of the apprentices with respect to their on-the-job training program. 51% of the employers says that they are fairly productive with respect to their on-the-job training program. 24% of the employers are stating they are not productive or they have not been able to execute the training program which have been assigned to them. That 26% of the hiring managers today are facing challenges with respect to hiring apprentices because of stipend compensation, or you can say stipend related issues. To discuss the same, today we have with us Mr. Colin Manders, who is head HR for Walters Beko. Welcome, Mr. Colin.
Thank you, Dhruti.
Then we have with us Mr. Shivanand Rao. He is Chief Operating Officer for Kresna Diagnostic. Welcome, Mr. Rao.
Thank you, Dhruti.
Then we have with us Shweta Desai. She is Group Head HR for Kataria Group of Companies. Welcome, Shweta.
Thank you, Dhriti. Thank you so much for having me here.
So what we'll do, we're going to have discussion on three basic topics on the hiring trends. Then we're going to have discussion on the challenges of hiring apprentices. And then we're also going to have a discussion on the productivity part of it for apprentices. And we'll take up some questions from the audience and maybe a couple of inputs from your side with respect to apprenticeship program, the implementation part of it, and anything which you would like to recommend to government or NSGC, so that we can pass on those pointers and those thought process to the respective stakeholders. So we'd like to start the discussion with Mr. Colin. Mr. Colin, once again, a very warm welcome to
Thank you.
Of NetApp. So I'd like to know how was your hiring trend from the July to October, last 4 months, with respect to your company and with respect to industry also, and what is your projection for hiring of apprentices from November to December?
Thanks, Dhruti. In fact, and good afternoon, everybody who's listening on the webinar today. Firstly, I would like to mention that the uptick in hiring is a strong indication of an onward and upward projection in our economy. Yeah, and with very specific reference to apprentice, there are already a significant number of advantages that the industry has been considering over the past period. The most important of them, being that the opportunity to observe and build in-house talent throughout the job training period, which ranges today from 6 months to almost 3 years. And this with the option of really absorbing the best of the best. Yeah. There's also a huge amount of flexibility that's there, which, wherein we can look at, up to starting from 5th standard above. And also, now in the current scheme of things, where there's a greater commitment, where you're having people under the diploma category, advanced diploma category, as well as in the degree linked program. Besides, of course, the subsidy that we get from the government. Yeah. So I think, if you ask me very particularly and very specifically to answer to your question, what's been the trend moving upwards, I think, a lot has contributed to that. And, apprentice is one very, very significant category of employment that every organization has. And, since I represent the manufacturing setup, industry, I'll talk about specifically my industry, where, besides recruiting apprentice, which is more cost efficient, I think doubling up of resources and skills scarcity is one of the significant advantages by organizations in the past 6 months have started to increase the augmentation of this resource. Yeah. And today, if you ask me, what does it mean to the organization? Why are companies considering this? And let me try and decode a little bit of this for you. I think number one reason is the elimination of risk that is there. The second is about, thinking proactively about, new and alternative models. And I think, this entire pandemic situation has really redefined certain traditional methods of employment. I'm not saying that this did not exist before, but it has reinforced that belief that this is a very, very good and an alternative component of employment that can be incorporated in your entire work stream. Yeah. And therefore the need to augment and increase the number of resources. And of course, look at, being more and more innovative, in what you currently do. I'm of the opinion that every industry, must leverage of this model. And we ourselves have been, we of course are in the growth phase of our company because we newly established our factory in Sanand. And, we've been leveraging this model to a very, very large extent because we truly believe that this is a model that can work in various types of environment. In a factory environment like ours, for example, in the assembly line where people have to work on site, where specifically need to work on site. For example, if you look at it from an office-based jobs where certain functions like purchase, finance, maybe a hybrid kind of work model, which is possible. There is also an opportunity where apprentices are getting deployed. In customer facing roles, like for example, sales and retail, now that, things are opening up, that was this entire period has been an opportunity to train these apprentices and deploy them as soon as the economy is moving back. So if you ask me, Dhruti, I think, it's actually been a movement onward and upward. And I think this trend will continue to be there because if you ask me, there are significant advantages, and I just illustrated a few to make a point, and I'm sure all those who are familiar or who've been hiring apprentices have been experiencing these advantages, that are there. There are, of course, certain watch out signals, but I think if it's well managed by the industry, I think it can become a very, very strong model of employment, not only today, but also a strong model of building talent for the future over a period of time.
Great. So if you can let me know what kind of job profiles or what kind of roles you have able to hire apprentices, like you said, most of them are in factory where assembly and other kind of basically factory setup. So
Yes.
hire diploma holders, ITIs, and what is the absolute, or maybe you can say in percentage, what is the growth with respect to January to June, and then period of like July to October? What's the percentage of growth?
So let me start with the various categories. Of course, we've taken people in the ITI category, we have people in the diploma category, and we have inducted a few people in the graduates category as well. And I think there is an opportunity for all three. The nature of job and role has been primarily in the assembly line because we have the assembly shop floor operations where extensively we are able to deploy them based on the skill that they have. And that has been one of the to our mind, it's been a very, very strong model. And besides that, we engage a lot with these apprentices to ensure that they are they're finding meaningfulness in their job. They're also getting imparted the respective education that is. And to your last point, Riti, in terms of what has been the growth over the last over this period, I think we've moved up the scale to the extent of almost 25%, 20 to 25% increase from where we started off. And I think that is a significant uptick. The fact is also primarily because we are also enhancing the scale of our operation. innovations, as well as we are introducing a new product line. And these are instrumental for us also wanting to increase. Besides, we are also operating now from where we started a year back. We're operating almost on a 3-shift model. So I think there are a variety of reasons why we have looked at augmenting the resource to almost 25%. Has been one of the has been the increase from where we started about a year back.
And what is your thought in terms of like November, December, because the year end and the festival season is almost over now, right? The hiring pickup happens when the festival season, and then you will start hiring from August and September. And then there's a lean period also. But the report says their hiring will continue till December. So do you think it will continue for you also and for your industry also?
Yes, in specific industry related to manufacturing, and particularly in our
Consumer durables.
consumer durables, where the demand is more than what we are currently manufacturing. I think there is a huge scope of this to continue to pick up. And if you ask me, October, November, December, I don't think so we will have any seasonality in this. We will continue to be producing for market, producing for sale, and ensuring that we are able to meet with the demand that the market is bringing forward. So if you ask me, this number will continue to rise, and I think by December we will touch close to 30% to 35% increase. Great. From where we started.
I think I'll take up this question with Shweta. Shweta, if you can let me know again, what is your hiring trends for last 4 months in terms of, and what do you feel about next 2 months? Which is November and December, the year ending in terms of calendar year ending, not the financial year ending, but again, the festival seasons almost will get over by December. So what is your thought? How much percentage you've hired as compared to January to June? And then what is how many people you have hired? What's going to be a trend for hiring? So if you can share your thought and inputs on this.
Sure, Dhriti. First of all, thank you so much, Dhriti. I'm thankful to you. Other than that, I'm thankful to NetApp also, entire NetApp team, that I have been given this opportunity to express my views. Well, so far recruitment is concerned compared to last financial year, I mean first half of this financial year, and then since past 5-4 months. Yes, see, we are in the industry which is completely in the expansion mode right now. You must have heard about that, Kataria, as I'm representing Kataria Group. So Kataria Group is a very big group. Currently, we are having 6,600 employees on board, and I'm managing group of companies. Other than automobile, we have our presence in BFSI. As I mentioned earlier, that we have our insurance broking firm, refinance firm. Other than that, we are having presence into logistics. We are having presence into renewable energy, infrastructure, and we are recently coming up with a plan for vehicle recycling. So we are into expansion mode. So far, automobile industry itself is concerned, we are coming up with a couple of, 4-5 more workshops and 4-5 more brand outlets. So 10 number of outlets. Other than that, as I mentioned, that we are coming up with the recycling plant. So there also will be hiring a lot of people. As you know that, as Outlook also have mentioned, first number, which is actually having more number of apprentices, the industry is engineering. And after engineering, the second number is automobile, ancillaries, and retail. So we are into automobile retail as well as the automobile industry itself, so that we are having the highest number of apprentices. As I also have mentioned earlier that we are the number one Gujarat company which is having highest number of apprentices. So total number of apprentices which we have is more than 900. And in couple of months, I have hired almost 20% of recruitment compared to first 5 months of this year. So this is how we have increased good number of employees, and 20% apprentices have been increased.
So you're saying you have got people in different, because you have different verticals or different businesses. So you got people in retail, you got people in manufacturing, and it is almost like 20% hike as compared to what it was in January to June.
Yes, absolutely, in total.
And you are saying that you're coming up with new plant and new businesses. So even that case, the apprenticeship hiring will improve and increase.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's great to hear that you are one of the largest employer in terms of hiring apprentices in Gujarat. And I'm sure the kind of business you're scaling up, I think more apprentices will be hired in different business of yours. And that makes a lot of positivity, that gives a lot of positivity in terms of hiring apprentices across your industry, which is retail, manufacturing, and then recycling, the new businesses, new kind of business coming in. Great. So I like to take up the same question with Mr. Shivanand. I think your industry is like booming for last I think that is like 2019. I think
Right.
this industry is hiring like anything, right? Because the need is huge. So what was
Right.
your hiring trend in last 4 months? This is from July to October. Then what do you feel that will be in November, December? Because there is no season for you, right? It's a complete
Right. Yes.
so if you can throw some light on this, it will be great.
Right. I still would like to go back to the previous year also, like 2020, because as you are aware that like March we started off with the lockdown, and as in Krishna Diagnostics, we are a chain of diagnostics in both radiology and pathology, and of course the molecular biology. So when the lockdown started, even as you know, most of the healthcare industries, but even the biggest corporate hospitals also for that extent, for in the month of April and May, they completely were in a confused state because what to do then? Because the most of the hospitals started admitting the COVID patients somewhere by June, July onward. They started admitting the patients. So I personally know that there are a couple of hospitals, even the biggest corporate hospitals. In one day, one of the hospitals, 70 of these manager plus category employees have been relieved on the last 31st of May. I'm saying. Okay, without extending any further notice period, because the situation is uncertain. It's in a 2020 I'm talking about. So wherein from a diagnostic background, I'm saying Krishna Diagnostics, we did not settle down, thinking that, what do you say, we wanted to come back strongly. One side, our radiology business took a real hit, radiology, because the patient coming to the OPD has stopped almost. So that's where the chairman took a stand that we need to start the COVID testing now. So the requirement was the setting up of molecular lab. And we had such a dynamic team wherein during the peak lockdown period, within 3 months, that is from May to August, May, June, July, and I'm saying, or first week of August, we could able to set eight molecular biology labs across the country, like in Pune, and in Coimbatore, then one in Nashik, then one in Ahmednagar, then two in Mumbai, one in Rajasthan, one in Assam. 8 labs we have set up, and the HR has done a fantastic job by onboarding 812 staff, right from May 15th to August 12th. 812 staff we could able to onboard. And that too, it was a really Herculean task because every staff we had to speak to them that you will be assigned with the COVID responsibility. And they will be working in a lab where the COVID samples are getting processed. So that was a biggest challenge because when we finished off all our quota of 20,000 emailing in Naukri portal. Okay. We finished off that quota also, and plus almost nearly 5,000 SMS messages were sent, but still we could able to get some candidates, and successfully we onboarded 812. But later we started, what do you say, tip, as the wave started, the intensity started coming down, then we slowed down the recruitments also, started adjusting with the existing employees. And again, like Jan to June, if you ask me, we could be able to manage with the same number of staffs. But now again, our hiring is going up because of the new projects, wherein we are going to come up with another 24 centers, radiology centers, and another 31 laboratory setups, plus another 6 radiology centers in Mumbai. So that's where our hiring might go by another 1,200 employees in next 6 months.
And how much will be from for the percentage apprentice will be out of this?
Sorry?
Out of this, you're going to hire some 5,000 people, or like you're saying, like how much people you're going to hire? Out of that percentage, how much will be apprentices you're going to hire? And what kind
we can accommodate up to around 20 to 25% to start with.
And what kind of, okay, you feel the apprentices can fit into your requirement?
Right. But though our government norm says it's around 10 to 15% now, but we can always look at around 20% up to easily we can look at, because ours is more or less.
Okay.
And as you know, when it comes to the right from the front office staff, wherein they can be straight away, we can train them in 3 months or 4 months of time, then they will become more or less a hands-on over there. And
So you're saying that, okay, so you're saying that you can put apprentices in different job roles, like billing
yes,
job, even you get and collections, and there's something core job where they get
right,
can do collections of the blood samples and other things. But I think you can have
yes,
multiple job roles, right? That is what I think you are trying to explain here.
right, including technicians also, wherein they can be working along with the senior technicians over there, because they
Yeah.
cannot be directly handling the patients, because as per the quality norms like NABH, NABL, which clearly says trainees are not allowed to handle the patient directly. They can handle the patient under the supervision of a trained staff.
So it's more like a shadowing with the trained
Yes,
staff, can understand, learn as an apprentice, and maybe they can
yes,
once they complete the apprenticeship.
right,
Right. I think it's great to hear from all three of you that the trends in terms of hiring has improved and is going to improve. I think I'd like to go back to the second question or second discussion, which I'd like to start again with Colin. Colin, I think you're in a very dynamic business where your competitors are there, right? And then what we have seen in the report also, and what we actually understand when you go on ground, that hiring apprentices is also a challenging task for your hiring managers or hiring team,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Because lot of the youngsters, they want to be an employee, right?
right,
Even though they have education, but they don't have skill, and they want to be, okay, I'm an employee, right? But I think the skilling gap is there. But again, that nobody is considering at this point of time as a youth, where until they hit the mark and learn the hard part of it. So do you also face challenges in hiring apprentices, or your team face challenges in hiring apprentices?
Yes, I think I must say that there are significant issues with finding the right talent pool, and so therefore there is a strong role of HR to locate this talent pool. So definitely there is a big challenge in where do we find these people, go down to colleges, institutions, and find them. Or of course, nowadays the better option is partner with a leading firm like yours, which will help source these people, because there's a huge activity involved, and ours being a fairly new company, yeah, we do not have the wherewithal or the resource that we are able to deploy to really source these people. So yes, it is a big challenge today to really get the right skill. That, to my mind, I think has been very, very significant. And I think today, with most organizations trying to do more with less, there is always an issue where the HR teams and the support functions teams are actually being compressed. So it is, it. While the biggest challenge is to find the right people, the other thing is, what all you can outsource and what are the activities that you can insource. And I think the time has come for those organizations who've not moved along that way to relook at their total activity, and keep core activities or really certain activities that you need to do internally, and really outsource certain activities to people or to organizations who have the right skill and who can actually source those talent from wherever required.
So if I talk about digital part of in hiring, do you think digitization can help in improving the hiring for apprentices? Maybe a platform, maybe a kind of a portal where it is specific to only hiring apprentices, and maybe do you think that is going to improve in terms of hiring apprentices? Challenges can be taken care of?
Yeah, so to me, digitization is the way forward. Yeah, but the question that I have in mind is how many potential apprentice are actually have actually are able to are good enough to register themselves and things like that. There's always a challenge, and I'm particularly talking about the more youngsters. They are very digital savvy. I'm not saying that they are very digital savvy when it comes to WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth. But some of them have still to reach that area, and we're talking about people that we can deploy in a manufacturing setup. Some of them, and talking about even in rural India, where the availability of good internet connections are also challenged. So Personally, if you ask me, digital is the way forward. But are we ready yet is the big question. And Riti, my personal view is that we have to cross that bridge. We still have a lot to do. And I'm talking about more when I'm looking at small towns, small cities, where people even don't even own a digital phone or a smartphone. I think that is a challenge that we need to address as well.
Yeah, I understand, but when I was discussing Mr. Shivanand, he was talking, I've exhausted my Naukri limit and database, all those things. So today, why can't we have some? It's just a thought process, right? Why can't we have something like Ola, Uber kind of a platform for apprentices, right? Where actually you can locate by pin codes.
Okay, so so now having clarified, I'm clear with the question. So I think having clarified that, I think the important thing is, yes, I think that from an employer perspective, this will be a beautiful tool to have, if you ask me. Because for us too, we don't have the wherewithal to go to colleges, go to people, go to campuses and find the people. If there is a platform that's available that will be able to extract, source, screen, assess, and then hand it over to us, I think organizations would be super delighted to have an experience of this nature.
But when you talk about the compensation part of it for an apprentice, I think there's always a challenge which we have seen in reports also. One is technology where you create the supply chain part of it, but when you talk and actually somebody getting onboarded, once offered, I think many times they don't join, or they join for a couple of days and they move out because they feel the compensation as an apprentice is not high or something. So how do you overcome? I'm sure you also have those kind of a challenge.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I must tell you that compensation, and I would say really attrition in that sense, is one of the biggest biggest points in this entire program. Getting the right people in, and I think through various mechanisms we can ensure that we have the right people in. But the biggest thing is that how to retain them. How do we retain them? How do we show them a line of sight between today and what's in it for the future? The biggest challenge to myself is the high attrition that is there in this entire scheme. So, if you ask me, there are various stakeholders to this entire thing, and everyone was put in a lot of effort to make that happen. Yeah. For example, the apprentice themselves. Yeah. The perception of the seriousness of on-the-job learning is important. And one needs to seed into each apprentice or potential candidates that this is a serious program. This is you're working with an organization. From an employer's perspective, the categorization of program, with adequate seriousness, and not just maintaining it as a compliance of 2.5%, or 10%, but we're discussing and talking about. It's not only about compliance. This is our gold mine of resources if you're able to use it in the best way. The third is also the government, in how they can really advocate this program and make this program really much bigger than it can. And it has a huge potential in it. And of course, service providers that you, who can actually make this program more meaningful for the employer, as well as you guys can actually are really the bridging of the gap of all these and actually putting this entire program together. So, compensation, attrition, these things will always be there. And there is no, really, if you ask me, there is no bottom to this. Yeah, it is a bottomless pit. You will keep on having compensation. Tell me, if this is compensation is one question asked, how many people are happy with with their current compensation? You will never get an appropriate answer. So this is something, but I think it's beyond that. And I think you have to address the bigger problem of attrition rather than only compensation. The bigger problem is, what is this program? How serious is this program? What will this program really do for you? And then you really address the other aspects of compensation. Compensation is definitely an important component. I'm not saying that people will live on love and fresh air. Yeah. But it is important to address the bigger problem of the right opportunity. And people will, if you're able to provide a line of sight to people, show them a career path that is after your apprenticeship program, you can go through an assessment and you can actually find a place in my company. I think people will be more will be more glued to the program, with more seriousness in the program, and ensure that they put their best foot forward to be productive with the company and to get a place in the organization.
Correct. Makes sense. I think that creating the future pipeline, you need to have a career progression also in apprentices, which can take care of the compensation part of it to some extent. Thank you so much, Colin, for the input. Shweta, I'll go back to you on this. I'm sure you have so many apprentices now, but I think that took a lot of pain to what you have achieved today. So
Indeed.
yeah, if you can put some inputs, how you've been able to hire apprentices, you still have the challenges in hiring apprentices because of compensation and other related issues.
Yeah, sure. So for hiring is concerned, yes, campus interviews are the first and foremost thing, as we ITI people are most major chunk we hire as an apprentice. Other than that, there is a second trade which is COPA, under which, as I mentioned earlier, that we have our own, insurance broking firm, wherein and that and particularly in refinance firm, we require a lot of telecallers, those who come under the COPA trade. So these two are the trade in which majorly we have done recruitment of apprenticeship, right? And these people I have so far, COPA people are concerned, we have recruited them through various portals and references. Major of our recruitment is done through references. Those who are immediately graduate and those who are looking for a job. So we generally get references through friends and our employees' friends and like that. Secondly, when IIT people are concerned, of course, we go to colleges and we recruit them from there. So this is completely campus. This is how we recruit. Other than that, if you ask me, retaining them, it's absolutely, it is going to be very difficult. It is difficult. It was difficult because today's generation is as such that when we hire them, they have their different plans. They do come to company, they do join once the training starts. Many of them are serious about it, many of them are not, right? So in that cases, it may happen that retaining them would definitely be a challenge to us. But yes, as I would second Colin's thought, that in case if we have a career path at place, we have succession planning place. In case if we, other than just apprenticeship training, if we develop certain training programs which can actually help them to grow themselves, we can definitely retain them. So there are certain ways through which we can, and there are a lot of plans through which we can retain them, and this is what we are doing right now.
Great. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you have got the the most hardest thing is that getting an apprentice, like when you start, right? When I've seen many establishments today, when they start the apprenticeship program, they find it difficult to hire apprentices. But once you start rolling out and you start able to get apprentices, I think it becomes a chain process where you get the references and other things start happening. Yeah, makes sense. I think it really makes sense. The way you have been able to get the references is a chain process.
Yes, indeed.
So I'll go back to Mr. Shivanand. I think your industry is highly regulated, right? Getting people is always a tough. As you said, the trainees need a shadowing with other people and managers. So I'm sure you also have, again, in competitive market, a lot of players that in the market who are doing the same kind of business, right? So how do you feel in terms of like overcoming the challenges with respect to compensation when you hire trainees or apprentices?
Right. So in a healthcare industry, as you know, there are two things. One is the post-pandemic. The lot of new setups have come, be it in a diagnostic or even the smaller setup of 50, 100-bed hospitals everywhere. So the opportunities are abundant. Again, it started, the imbalance between the demand and supply. As such, the healthcare industry is having dearth for the staff nurses. And it's like the staff nurses, the recruitment is the biggest challenge. Any HR attends an interview with another hospital when he looks for a job change. The first question he has to face is the recruitment of nurses and the recruitment of junior doctors, like those who post MBBS or maybe just pass out of MD or MS. So that if he's able to strike, at least he's almost done with his interview 50%, I can say, whether up to a managerial level, I'm saying. So how the pipeline has been created, how they are managing. So coming back to this point now, the lot of, the chains have opened up now, and a lot of, the people are getting opportunities. Now the question is getting the right candidates with the right skill sets. That is the biggest challenge. The healthcare, what do you say, the employees, especially these technicians or the nurses, those who trained with those who studied in a medical college or maybe in a big corporate hospitals where they have these paramedical courses, they come with to that extent skill sets. But there are certain colleges, yes, they have colleges, but they don't have their own hospital setup, wherein they take a help of some other hospital, they show it as an attached hospital for their training. But the candidates passed out from such institutes, they are hardly skilled. So that's where we have a challenge when we have such candidates, and we cannot compare them with our other skilled technicians over here. So there is an imbalance again, a kind of what do you say, the dissatisfaction starts among the employees also, because they compare themselves, what do you say, skill set versus salary, their compensation.
Right.
So this is another root cause. And as a diagnostic chain, after I joined here with the Krishna Diagnostics in the last 2 years, now we have started developing the pipeline through the National Skill Development Program, where there are some colleges, they are conducting these programs. It's a 2 years program for technicians, whether it's a laboratory technician or maybe the radiology technician, wherein they conduct the 6 months of classroom training completely related to their anatomy, physiology, all these trainings. And 18 months, they have to compulsorily undergo on-the-job training as per the government norms. So we grab these students now, wherein they will be with us for 18 months. It's a lock-in period for them. And there is no compulsion that we have to remunerate them or we have to provide any other facility, because it's a part of their curriculum. We will have an agreement with MOU with the said colleges. But we as an organization, because we understand it is not the students from a well-to-do family, they join these courses. Generally, I'm saying.
So basically, you're helping this particular
yes,
helping to create the pipeline.
Yeah, we provide them the accommodation and we provide some basic, what do you say, stipend every month to take care of their monthly livelihood. And in 18 months time, we train them in such a way that they will be, because for us, it is like a kind of a mini factory, we can say. Our radiology centers or the pathology, with the number of patients walking over there and the number of tests we are performing. So they will be as good as a 1 year experienced technician who has graduated from some of the institutes. That level of a skill set they acquire when they work with us for nearly 18 months. And post that, we take them on the job role directly, because we cannot continue them as another 1 year as an apprentice trainee with us, because they are like a hot, they can sell hot in the market and anybody can employ them immediately. So we don't want to lose such resources whom we are trained for nearly 18 months.
Correct. Yeah, I think all the three, because you belong to all the three different almost different kind of industry, where maybe Shweta and Colin's industry matches to some extent. You have your own challenges in terms of hiring apprentices, but ultimately it's not about compensation that can only solve the problem of hiring. It's, I think, a lot of other things attached to it, the stakeholders, the kind of succession plan, the kind of hand-holding which we need to do when somebody get hired. I think that is which I feel is required when you hire an apprentice. When we also hire apprentices for our establishments, it is never easy, but when you start hiring, the chain process starts, and then a lot of hand-holding and all those things are required. But a good part is that you know the challenge, you know the pain area. I think that is where you can fit into your, you can fit and figure out how we can work out the solution. Great. So again, I'll go back to Colin. Colin, I think the third and the final topic which we need to discuss is that the productivity part of it, right? When I discuss a lot of establishment, a lot of people say the apprentices, how can you make them talk about productivity part of it? But I personally believe when you don't judge anyone or assess anyone for productivity, you cannot put them in employment, right? Once they complete the apprenticeship program. I'm sure you have the same thought process. I believe so. So how you're doing the assessment part of it in terms of their productivity with respect to the training which you impart to them during the training program, on-the-job training program?
Yeah, in fact, Riti, I think I'm so happy you touched upon one of the most important aspects, because, finally, it's all about productivity. And today, the entire program of the apprentice, has been questioned based on, how what are these resources? How productive are they? These are one of the prime issues discussed when running any of these programs. And I think, the responsibility of enhancing productivity must be driven and owned by the organization, and of course the apprentice over there, and owned by the organization, and the organization deploying them and of course the people who are managing them. But I think if I were to just rewind slightly and look at if you, and you spoke about it, very important point is assessing them. So locating the talent pool of affordable talent is a very key, because unless I'm able to locate and get the right talent, put them through the battery of assessments and then say that, okay, this person is the right person who can be a part of my apprentice scheme. The second is, identifying and create an inventory of various skills that you require, because that's very important. Because otherwise, you're going to end up putting the wrong person for the wrong job, and then you blame productivity. Yeah. Okay. So the important thing is, first step back, make an inventory. What are the various skills that you have, and then start looking for the right talent. And then not only once having done this, there are a bunch of skills that are even transferable or transportable in that sense. And look at that option where you can give people multi-skilled, some of the apprentice while they are on the job over there. And target the entire skill, so that you're able to look at the entire skill. And of course, I think the most important thing is providing them a meaningful opportunity to learn and grow. Yeah. If one is able to do that, I think we will be able to ensure that the productivity gets enhanced, gets measured on a routine basis. There are various measures of measuring productivity, and typically in a shop floor environment, it would be a number of items produced, number of targets met, number of defects reduced, quality related aspects could be incorporated depending on where exactly they are deployed in the shop floor. A matrix can be really designed to measure that. So these are for me, productivity is very, very important. Unless we are able to drive productivity, then the essence of the scheme really gets questioned. And that's when many organizations say, no, I don't want to do this, because these are a bunch of guys who are just loitering around, and that's not the intent. These are a bunch of people we can, as manufacturing organizations, we can actually deploy. And these are not people, these are resources that can actually be utilized if channelized in the right way. And I think a lot of this will go of productivity is to also educate the managers who are managing these people, who are managing the apprentice, how they can best utilize these apprentices in the best possible way. And of course, give them time to learn as well as develop at the same time. So this is my take on productivity. I think it's a very important aspect. It's a very important tool. And this must be one of some of the key measures that has to be constantly measured throughout the apprentice program of the entire period of
So you do assessment, what's your time frame? You do every 6 months, or you do once before they complete the apprenticeship program? What's the frequency of your assessment?
So we are doing every 6 months, but we are looking at moving it to a quarter, on a quarterly basis, because in manufacturing it can be easily tracked to a very large extent, but to track it on an individual basis is slightly challenging at this point of time. But we will get there. My goal is to track productivity to a quarterly basis and try and improve it further as we go forward.
Now, which other points you look when you do assessment of an apprentice? How much is like theory part of it? How much is practical part of it?
So today, our focus is largely practical oriented, and it is not theoretical. It's more practical oriented, on the job. That's how we've designed. But we have to possibly modify our assessment to include a combination of theory as well as practical.
Great. But again, they come back to same question, that digitization of assessment is also something which is very important.
Yes.
When you do assessment of an apprentice across all the level in the company should know, right?
Yes.
Digitization also play a very important role going forward in assessment. I think government is also trying to do a lot of things where they can actually you just log in and across all level people can see what kind of assessment has been done and how people have progressed.
Yes, absolutely. To my mind, I think that all assessments must be digitized, because you will be able to have a history of each apprentice. You can also see the progression and improvement, and you can also create a specific development plan based on that. And you will be able to, over a longitude period of time, see how you moved the needle from where you started to where, for a bunch of apprentices in a particular who are deployed in a particular area, to where you're moving them to. So that's, I think digitization is definitely the way forward for all assessments.
Correct. Okay, I'll go back to Shweta. How you're assessing your apprentices, right? And I'm sure, like Colin, you must be also agreeing that productivity is very important. Even though apprentices, you should know whether they are performing that particular task given to them or not, right? So, what is your thought on this? You are on mute.
I'm sorry. I'll second Colin on this case, because I also believe that ultimately productivity is everything, not just with the apprentice, but even in general. What we see is this productivity matters a lot to entire organization, right? So when it comes to productivity, there are certain ways through which the entire apprentice program is designed. Assessment is one part which is being done by the government. Other than that, we have our own certification, which is being conducted every 3 months, that is quarterly. So certification program is one thing. Other than that, what we do is we have linked this entire apprentice program, especially for ITI people, with incentives. So once they complete each and every quarter, their incentives grows. So that could be one, that is, a part of retention also, which can be taken as a tool for retention, as well as this can be taken as a tool for assessment also, how much more incentive they earn. And this is how we rate them. So one thing is incentive, second is reward and recognition program is also designed for them, and third is certification, as I said, quarterly certification. This is the way we assess each of our apprentices.
So you're saying you do assessment every 3 months, there's an incentive attached to it. If you clear assessment, they get some incentive out of it, right?
Yes, they get certificate as well as incentive.
And when you do your final assessment in terms of their productivity, in terms of completion of the, so you do before 3 months time, when you do the assessment before completion of the apprenticeship program?
Not before completing the apprenticeship program, but exactly at the time when government is having prescribed apprenticeship timeline for right from 6 months to 3 years, if you are aware about it, right? So according to the trend, as and when they are supposed to complete the timeline, exactly at that time only we complete the assessment.
Great.
It is aligned with the government timeline.
So when you talk about your own internal assessment, do you have a credit scoring that every assessment will have this amount of scoring and then adding up to annual scoring? You have work in that way also?
Absolutely, the scoring system is
and
there.
How digitization is playing role? Have you displayed?
Certification is completely digitalized. Their assessment, their whatsoever theoretical and practical things are there. Both the things are completely digitalized, and it is completely on that basis only.
Great. So again, I'll go back to Mr. Shivanand. What is your thought on productivity, right? Because your business is very sensitive. You cannot actually talk about productivity, right? But again, maybe you can share some input in terms of like, does productivity play an important role in your industry or specific to your company?
I think more than the productivity, I can say the quality is most important in our industry, because nobody is bothered whether you have done a scan of today 80 patients or 50 patients, but how many quality scans you have done is most important, because nobody decides this today. I have to take a CT scan or a blood test to be done, and they walks into our center. The patient is referred by a doctor. The doctor who refers, for him, how best the image we take or how best the laboratory test we perform and how best the report we deliver to him, that decides the next course of the treatment to the patient. So our direct customer is, I can say directly, it is the doctors over there and not the patient actually. So, and again, the patient who walks into a place, it's not a happy place, I can say. Rather, this is a place which needs to be more of empathy oriented. There is no sympathy also. It should be an empathy oriented. It's like I always tell our staff, if somebody looks at a 5-star hotel or in a nice restaurant is opened up in front of our office, we always feel that one day I have to have a lunch here, or next Saturday I have to have a lunch here, or maybe a nice hotel I see, I'll think that at least 2 days I should stay in this hotel. Wherein nobody thinks that Krishna Diagnostics has opened such a beautiful center, state of the art, 3 Tesla MRI, 120 slice CT, all these, what do you say, the new machines. One day I should lie down on this machine, I should take my scan. Nobody wish for this. So when patient comes with this kind of a mindset where they have been compelled to come, it is not the patient alone, the patient attendant. They have to take a short leave from the work or they have to apply leave. So when they come with that kind of a mindset, we should be in their shoes, understanding their pain and how we receive them in the right from the security it starts. If they face a problem at the security, then every stage they will find problem with our service.
Right.
The security started well, then the quality of service, at least in the front office, then how the technicians they receive them, how they, what do you say, give counseling about the test they're going to perform, then everything will go well later.
But I think when you talk about the productivity, maybe product may not be the right word for the industry, but maybe efficiency will play important, maybe can correlate, because if when you hire a trainee, you somewhere need to assess, right? Maybe emotion intelligence part will play important role.
Right.
The efficiency or efficacy will play very important role. We cannot directly talk about productivity, but that is required until you don't have that in place, but you're not able to create a supply chain also, right?
Right, but see, majorly we orient them with all the quality norms, because as I mentioned, like NABH is a quality norms for the healthcare and NABL are there. So we orient them with these quality norms, and if they adhere to this, and the technicians, they are very well aware how they are supposed to perform their job and what are the quality parameters they are supposed to adhere over there, and what are the medical legal issues might arise. So how they are supposed to take care of those medical legal issues related, forms to be filled, everything, and including the appointments, scheduling, that is also most important by the front office. So all these are taken care, then the productivity will be more or less it is taken care. And the scans will be performed by the machines over there. So more or less there is no choice over there for the technicians, and they will be good in slicing the CT or MRI. That performance they will take care of. And secondly, we also need to monitor these technicians, because when they are working for us, they should not be parallelly working for social media companies or WhatsApp companies. They will be busy with their personal work over there. That is something in your language you call it as maybe floor managers or shop floor managers. In this one we call them as the center manager or maybe the supervisor over there. So they are supposed to monitor them, because they also get some messages from the friends or whatever, but we should be sensitizing them. That is the only thing we need to look at. But otherwise, productivity wise in the healthcare, because it's like each patient has a different protocol, I'm saying.
True.
Each patient is a new patient. A patient who has come for example, I'm saying an HRCT during COVID time. One patient you would have completed in 5 minutes. The other patient may not be cooperative also when lying on the machine. It may take 20 minutes also sometimes, or 15 minutes also. So unlike it is a production line where you will have a specific time, like 2 minutes, you have to do some fittings over there, whatever I'm saying, filing, grinding, whatever, or this job takes 3 minutes or whatever. In the healthcare, it may not happen. Even to do a simple phlebotomy also, sometimes you need to counsel the patient. It may take 10-15 minutes. Some patients may directly give their hands, okay, you can draw the blood. So sometimes to find the veins also, it may take time. So productivity measuring is a slight, I can say, intangible here. Rather, we have to, train our staff with the quality standards, the empathy, more of empathy and the counseling nature, how to counsel the patients, and to live, be receptive to all the tantrums of the patients, because it is not the intentionally they're doing it, because when we are sick, we get to know the real pain. Yeah. Same way, each and every patient comes with a pain over there. So we should not think that it's a routine or a mundane. We should be a part of their pain.
Correct. So I think the productivity will have different definition for different industry, but ultimately it's very important we assess our apprentices so that we actually tell them what needs to be done to improve. So otherwise, if we don't have assessment tool, assessment process, you're never able to give the feedback. Maybe again, the definition for you, Mr. Shivanand, will different for productivity, calling productivity.
No, in fact, I was quite intrigued by how Shivanand, your industry works and very different from any typical shop floor environment, and you articulated it so beautifully. It actually got me rethinking to re-engineer my thought process. How the healthcare industry has got so many nuances. That's very different.
Right. Even I'm thinking going back to Sector Skill Council, asking how are you going to assess someone with this kind of
Absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
Yes,
And Shweta, I think came up with some interesting insights, and maybe I'll connect with you separately, Shweta, on the incentive mechanism that you have put together. I think that's very interesting as well.
Sure, Colin.
Yeah.
So I think we'll take a couple of questions. Before that, I have a question for all three of you. So I think the National Education Policy, which came in 2020, talks about the degree apprenticeship, right? Which because government believe it is not only about the on-the-job training, but attaching the program or embedding the apprenticeship on-the-job training program with a degree will be more meaningful and going to attract a lot of youth. Today we have shortage of skilled manpower.
Yeah.
So, Colin, what is your thought on degree apprenticeship?
No, I think that's a good move forward. And if you personally ask me, this will also ensure that people stay on for a longer period of time, because they are able to see that they will be able to successfully complete their graduation from an organization. So that's from the lens of an apprentice who will sign up for the program. From an organization standpoint, you have an opportunity to look at the apprentice for a longer period of time, see them on the floor, and tomorrow, once they complete the program, you may want to consider them, into your GET or your trainee scheme, where they will actually start being more productive than you would have taken a fresher. That's a significant advantage, and I think industries should really leverage this opportunity and take people through this mechanism, watch them over a period of time, help also help them develop over a period of time, and by the time they complete their graduation, you have actually a person who's completely ready. I think it's a brilliant opportunity to me.
I think it is going to help us the pain area for hiring apprentices. I think that even attrition maybe get controlled to some extent, I believe. So again, Shweta, going back to the same question, degree apprenticeship, do you think that will help you as an industry or as a company to hire apprentices easily, or the challenges which I'm sure you still have challenges hiring apprentices, that can be a stickiness for you guys to hire apprentices and they get a stickiness to it?
That will definitely be an advantage in case if there's such kind of a program is being designed and it is being offered to the companies. I tell you, there is a program which is actually currently going on. In fact, Maruti has done MOU with the government of Gujarat, and few of the Gujarat colleges are educating students that would be full-fledged degree course. So once they are there in the colleges, they would be studying partially. They would be studying for a couple of months. They would be in the theoretical studies they would do, and for practical things they would be placed in our dealership. So we will be educating them. We will be trained. We will give imparting training to them, and we will exactly teach them how practically they are supposed to work on field. And this is the third batch which will be coming to us in the month of December. So before that also we have gone through two batches, and in these two batches, what kind of employee we have got after completion of this program, the kind of employee we have taken from these colleges are really good. In fact, they are ready material for us, and right from the very first day of their graduation we can expect performance from them. So I think this is going to be a turnaround completely, and it will really help all the companies, not just our industry, but it will be helpful to all industries.
Great. Mr. Shivanand, I think your industry again is different, but again, I think linking the on-the-job training, embedding the training with a diploma or a degree, I think I feel that will help a lot of issues, challenges with respect to hiring. So, what's your final thought on this?
I feel it's a good move wherein we link it to an next level of the qualification. If they does like 2 or 3 years of the apprentice trainee, the reason being that should be given as they should earn a credit for it also. Because today apprentice trainee, the one mindset is like, I completed my diploma or degree, I'm not finding a job, at least let me start my career as an apprentice trainee. Somebody given an opportunity, they have, what do you say, anybody for that matter, they wanted to take up a full-time employment, or somebody gets selected through the campus also, they happily move on. But otherwise, the next level of category, they feel that, okay, we will at least start our career to the apprentice trainee, wherein the apprentice trainee gets its own recognition in terms of you do 2 years or 3 years, then you will get an additional degree like this. This will be considered equivalent to whatever the degree next available in the same specialty or the branch or the this one. So then the, what do you say, the interest of the candidates joining this program, definitely it might increase. But in the healthcare, coming back to healthcare, I'm saying like we are already doing it offline now, as I mentioned. It's not on the records per se. I mean, nowhere is documented. As I mentioned, like a national skill development program, where they have a lot of the trainings like the patient aid, nursing aid programs, or maybe these radiology technician, or the laboratory technician, or for that matter, operation theater technician. All these students, they go for around 6 months classroom training with the institute. Then another 18 months they spend with the respective hospital or maybe the diagnostic centers, and they get completely trained. And at the end of that, they have to write the government exam also, and here also they will undergo the complete training, and they get at least a diploma degree through this. So that is an interest for these students to join here, but it is not a structured kind of an apprentice trainee program, which is an off record, I'm saying. But same, I think the, what do you say, the system can be brought into this apprentice trainees. Somebody joins with the diploma, maybe he completes 4 years as an apprentice trainee kind of thing. Then based on the assessments, he would be awarded some bachelor degree in that, an ITI can be awarded in a diploma degree. So that will make a good inflow into this, and it will be, what do you say, give a more the weightage for this apprentice training program.
Absolutely. I think I also agree that degree apprenticeship will be a turnaround for India as far as scaling of apprentices next 2 to 3 years time. So I think we have a hard stop. I have a couple of questions which I like to take it up with you guys. And what questions we will not able to address at this point, we will pass on to you guys. Maybe then you can pass on the inputs from your side, and we can pass on to the audience. So when I talk about, like, there's a question from Suman. It is saying, what is a maximum percentage of quota for hiring apprentices in Maharashtra? So Shweta, you'd like to take up this question? Okay, I think
yes. In Maharashtra, it is 25% instead of 15%.
So all these 25% get the subsidy, or only 15% is for subsidy, and then damn subsidy, and rest is like non-subsidized deployment?
I guess all 25% is subsidized.
Subsidized. Right. Okay, great. Okay, I'll take up the second question. Okay, Colin, if you can address this question, what is the segregation between fresher and technical apprentices in terms of, like, the regulation allows to hire how many technical apprentices and how many fresher apprentices?
Okay, so I'm not sure about the regulation, but I will probably answer more out of practice as a practicing person. I think we have a combination of technical and a large, since we are a factory setup, a large number of the largest number is actually only technical apprentice that we hire. Non-technical, just maybe 1 or 2 really, but not more. But largest number that we virtually all our apprentice, I would say 98% are technical apprentice only.
Great. So I think whatever, there's another question. I think we can take this question then.
I think the other one I responded online.
Okay, you have done that, right? Great.
One I have responded. I don't know. That's Sanjay.
Sanjay. Yeah. Right. So I think we had a great discussion today. I think we discussed about the most important things with respect to apprenticeship, the hiring part of it, the productivity part of it, the retention part of it. I think I learned a lot of things today from your input, and I think I really thank you, 3 of you, for taking out time for this webinar. Looking forward for more this kind of discussion in future. Thank you so much. Thanks all 3 of you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Shweta. Thanks,
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Shivanand.
Good to meet all of you.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Shweta. And thank you, Dhruti. And
Thank you so much.
Thanks to all the participants.
Thank you. Thanks.